it was last Friday that we started this. I know a few of you are brand new, and I love that you're here and feasting. We're going to get started in a little bit. I'm going to welcome all of you at some of those faces I see every morning. It's my morning. Your maybe afternoon or maybe your evening. It's so good to see you. If you'd like to put your name and where you're from in the chat, we can see who's here. See who's feasting alongside you. We'll get started in just a little bit. Oh, let's see what we've got. We are live. We are streaming here on Facebook and YouTube. And I know some of you are trying to share some of these meditations with your friends. So you can find us on YouTube, or you can go to the website, feastforthesoul.org. And even though it's a little slow going, if you hang out and have some patience, you'll get the links you need to download or watch some of the videos. It's good to see you today. So what are we going to do? Well, I can tell you last night here in Santa Barbara, I was leading a meditation outside. And for those of you who know what's going on here in California, we don't get out much. We can go outside, but we don't gather. There are no restaurants open. But we are so fortunate because at the bottom of where I live is a clay studio, an art studio. And they love to have meditation. So outside around 5:30, what I call the happy hour meditation, we sit under this giant oak tree, and it's called a cathedral oak, and it's lit with fairy lights. And we sit and we welcome everything we hear. And oftentimes the owls are in the tree right above us. And sometimes they expand their wings, which are literally as wide as my hands, spread out. And they make the most silent descent to eat maybe a gopher or a mouse. And they keep us company. And then the coyotes start to howl. We have 2 bands of coyotes, one in each canyon. And so we meditate at night with the moon, the stars, the owls, and the coyotes. And it's so lovely. And we were doing that last night, and I thought of you because I knew I was leading this meditation today. And I thought we could talk a little bit about you and your attention. That's one of my favorite topics as a meditation teacher. It's talking about you and your attention, because of course you need to pay attention when you're meditating. But ideally you pay attention all the time. That's what meditation is really about, is being able to be in charge of your attention, paying attention to what you want to pay attention to, and curving that beam of attention onto itself. You can do it right now if you like. Start to pay attention to the one who's listening, the one who's looking through your eyes. Where is that attention arising from? That's what we're going to be working with today. So for those of you who are just joining us, we are now on our 7th day of the Feast for the Soul, which is an annual worldwide 40-day spiritual practice period that you can just jump in at any time. You can start your 40 days today if you like. And this year we're working with the Institute of Noetic Sciences and their Discovery Lab to start to quantify the benefits of practicing together and practicing in an extended sort of, I'd have to call it sort of a spiritual retreat or an intensive. So they've asked me to ask you, for those of you brand new to this, to connect with them. And I'll send a link to you if you're on the newsletter. I'll send it out tomorrow. And to take an initial survey on how you are, how you pay attention, how you're feeling, how connected you feel to others before you really dive into this 40 days. And then again, after the 40-day period's over. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Sarah McLean, and I have been the director of the feast. I inherited the feast from a woman named Valerie Sconi, who was motivated, and some of you know this story, by a Rumi poem. And it's a longer poem than this, but the last couple of lines are, what 9 months does for a growing embryo, 40 early mornings will do for your growing awareness. So what does that mean? What is growing awareness anyway? When we're stressed out, which some of us have been due to various reasons, whether it's elections or riots or COVID or losing a job or having to homeschool or being alone more than usual or being around people more than usual, the amount of stress that's accumulating can really start to put a little pressure on us. And we begin to see things through a little bit of a smaller lens. But that growing awareness, to be able to expand your awareness to include everything, even the good, even the bad, even the ugly and the unconscious, starts to become conscious. That's part of what we're doing here. So if this has been your 7th day, for instance, you may be coming face to face with some habits of mind that you are not so fond of, or behaviors that you've adopted that you're suddenly asking yourself, why am I doing this? Just rest assured that when these start to become part of your awareness, that the change is already taking place. The change to more harmony and balance, to more kindness and perfection, to more compassion for yourself and others, even if it doesn't feel that way, and even if you're not imposing anything from the outside in. The mere fact that you're practicing allows for your awareness to expand. So some of you, I'm going to talk just a little more before I guide us into a practice. I know some of you are brand new to meditation, and some of you have been meditating with me for a long time or meditating with the feast for years. We're in our 14th year this year. But you've probably heard of a lotus, and you might have heard of Thich Nhat Hanh, who says, no mud, no lotus. We just swore in a woman here as our vice president. That's a first. And she's East Indian descent, as well as, I believe, African-American descent. And so we love it. And her name, Kamala, means lotus. And so it's beautiful to think about that. And the lotus has traditionally been a symbol of growing awareness. But think about a lotus seed. It has to make its way and bury itself into the mud of probably a murky pond of some sort. And inherent in that seed is everything needed or the intelligence needed to create this lotus. But first, that seed has to sprout and it has to be nourished. And then it has to make the long journey from the mud to the surface of the water. And then, of course, it starts to open up to the light. I love to use this analogy as our own journey, whether you've been finding yourself in the murkiness of the unknown, maybe the grief of a life that you used to live that's no longer here, or the uncertainty of the future. But once you step into this river of spirituality or of your own spiritual awakening, your journey is underway. And really, if you keep up your practice, it will inevitably allow for you to blossom and have that full experience and expression of yourself. So let's talk about what we're doing today in meditation. So many of you have been meditating a while, but just to go over some basics. Meditation means it's actually a state of consciousness. It's a state of awareness we get into due to a practice. But not all meditations are equal. The word meditation refers to the many ancient and modern practices that invite you to rest your gentle attention on some particular object. So generally speaking, I guide us into a mindfulness practice to begin with, which means simply allowing everything to be here, allowing everything to be as it is with your gentle attention, your unencumbered attention, which is non-judgmental and welcoming, even kind and even loving. So we'll start our meditation with mindfulness, and we'll come out of meditation with mindfulness. But as we journey into the interior realm together, there are a couple of basics that I'm going to invite you to remember. First off, it's okay if you get distracted. It's okay if suddenly there's a noise in the environment or your mind drifts off to plans you have later for today or what happened yesterday or the good old days. Secondly, when you notice that your attention's drifted away, you come back and you're kind to yourself. So you come back to the practice when you recognize you're daydreaming and you're kind to yourself. Third, don't try to have a certain experience. Instead, treat this as kind of a journey with curiosity. Be willing to investigate, be willing to be present and be curious and open to what's here. So don't try to have an experience or relive an experience you've already had. Instead, be right here, right now, open to what's next. There's no need to try either. There's no need to try to be spiritual, try to be enlightened, try to wake up, none of that. We're just going to let the technique do it. Lastly, let's stick with the whole practice. Today, we're going to be meditating about 20 minutes together. And at the end, I'll sound a bell at the beginning and the end. And at the end, I invite you to sit comfortably, simply resting in awareness for a couple of minutes. It's really important to take that time at the end of meditation for integration, just like we take time right in the beginning of the meditation to dive inward. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And I invite you to get comfortable whether you're sitting, whether you're standing, whether you're lying down, whether you're walking and listening to this. I invite you to get comfortable. And you can close your eyes if you like. Or if you prefer, you can gaze downward softly toward the floor or toward your hands. And as you sit here, you know that you ideally will sit relatively still. But if you need to move around or adjust your posture as you move into this practice, feel free to do that. So as you're sitting here now, I invite you to deepen your breath a little bit. Breathing in at your own pace, slowly and fully, and breathing out at your own pace, slowly and fully. This sends a signal to your body. It's okay to relax, to settle in. And then let your breath return to its natural rhythm and depth. Begin now to welcome everything you hear. Noticing how some sounds arise from the silence and return to the silence, while other sounds are more constant. Welcoming sounds and noticing the texture of the sounds rather than forming some opinion about the sounds. Resisting nothing and welcoming everything. Observing what comes and goes, like the sound of my voice, or perhaps the sound of your breath. So let's bring that same quality of observational attitude and awareness to sensations in the body. You might start with the way your feet are on the floor or inside your socks or shoes. You might notice the sensation of your hands as they rest in your lap. You might become a little more aware of the levels of comfort or discomfort as you sit here or stand here or lie here. So I invite you to make any adjustments to your posture to get a little bit more comfortable. You can begin to soften your eyes, your mouth. You might tuck your chin just a little bit and notice what it feels like as the back of your neck lengthens slightly. Lowering your shoulders. Feeling the support underneath you, under your rear or behind your back. Soften any areas that are tense, inviting them to soften, perhaps by directing your breath to those areas or your loving attention. You can rest your attention now on your breath, the sensation of the inhale and the exhale. There's no particular rhythm or depth that you should be maintaining. Let it be as it is, staying in touch with it. If at any time you want to open your eyes, you can do that. Look around and close them again. And bring your attention to the breath. Becoming mindful of the way the body moves in response to the breath. As the rib cage expands, contracts, the belly moves. Become curious as to this breath that's been going on every day for years. Perhaps you notice the difference in the sensation of the inhale to the exhale, in temperature, in flow. And allow your attention to rest on the end of the exhale and at the end of the inhale. If the mind wanders, it's perfectly fine. Just come on back to the breath. Perhaps you invite the quality of appreciation, appreciating your breath. appreciating yourself for practicing today. And appreciating your practice as it invites this calmness, this joy, this comfort. We might begin now to invite a mantra. This one is in the form of an affirmation, but there's no need to struggle to feel anything in particular. This mantra is, I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. Silently saying it to yourself without any effort, without trying to coordinate it with your breath. I am loving awareness. The repetition of this mantra is gentle and relaxed. There's no need to force or concentrate or create some mood. I am loving awareness. We're going to sit like this together, silently saying this mantra. And whenever you notice your attention or your loving awareness has drifted to another time or place, see if you can invite it back here. Begin again with kindness. I am loving awareness. There's no particular experience you should be having other than the experience you're having. And bringing that loving awareness attitude into this practice as you continue to invite the mantra silently. I am loving awareness. And now I invite you to let go of the word awareness and silently repeat the mantra, I am loving. I am loving. If you notice some argument rising up against it, come back to the mantra. Simply be aware of what happens. I am loving. And now I invite you to shorten the mantra even further to I am. I am. Silently repeating this without force, letting it be like an internal chant. And now I invite you to let go of the mantra completely and sit in the open awareness, welcoming everything into that loving awareness that you are, whether it's a sound or sensation or a thought, letting everything be as it is. In this open awareness, there's no such thing as a distraction. Imagine allowing everything to be exactly as it is. There's no need to struggle against anything.
please unmute, Sarah?
This time we invite back the mantra, I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. This time we use it as an affirmation, finding the ways in which this is true. I'm going to sound the bell now. I invite you to keep your eyes closed, resting in awareness. Inviting the awareness of your awareness throughout the rest of your day today. Even though we have preferences, diving underneath all of that into the awareness of being aware, keeping the aperture of your attention expanded, welcoming, kind, and loving. I invite you to come out of meditation slowly. First, opening your eyes if you'd like to do that at your own pace with a downward gaze. You can flutter them open and closed, letting a little light in. And then when you feel like you'd like to open them all the way, you can do that. Deepen your breath or stretch into the space around you. There's no rush. Take as much time as you like coming out of meditation. Some people like to close their meditation by rubbing their hands together, getting a little warmth and placing their cupped palms over their eyes. Others like to say a prayer or set an affirmation for the day. And I'd like to close the meditation by thanking you for meditating with all of us and bowing to that loving awareness that lives through you as you, that lives through me as me, that lives through everything, that consciousness, that loving awareness that expresses itself through each and every one of us and calls us forth from that murky pond into the great flowering of our potential and our awareness. So thank you. Thanks for joining me today. Share with you, let me see if I can find this prayer. Just maybe, here it is. It's a Rumi poem. It says, consciousness sleeps in minerals, dreams in vegetables, awakens in animals. and becomes self-aware in humans. I'll repeat that. Someone read this to me last night. Consciousness, it sleeps in minerals, dreams in vegetables, awakens in animals, and becomes self-aware in human beings. I'd love to hear how that practice went for you. Thanks for joining me today. Would anyone like to share?